Welcome back. You're tuning in to Financial Fitness Northwest live on 1150 KKNW, where we help you navigate the mortgage and real estate market with expert advice from knowledgeable and trustworthy industry professionals. And now we have in studio Carmen Gayton, a managing broker at Windermere Real Estate. Carmen is a graduate of Clemson University, where she majored in mathematical science and with a biology minor. She was appointed by Governor Inslee to the Seattle College's Board of Trustees, where she was board chair in 2014 and 15. In addition to her active role on the Seattle College's board, she is also the Board of Achievement Rewards for College Scientists Foundation, Inc., serves on the membership committee for the Sunset Club, member of the Friends of Odessa Brown's Children's Clinic, and sustainer in the Junior League of Seattle. Carmen has been an active board member for many other organizations as well as various committees, such as the Treehouse for Children Luncheon Co-Chair, Nelson Mandela Dinner Committee, and the Seattle Symphony's Musicians Pension Fund, just to name a few. Carmen was selected as a 5-star professional real estate agent in 2014 through 17, a Zillow 5-star agent, and recognized as a top producing broker. Carmen lives in the area and with her husband and has one son who is also her business partner. So welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you. We had Treehouse on. You're on there.
It's a wonderful organization.
Yeah. You're involved in a lot of wonderful organizations.
A lot of things. I think it's important to be involved in the community, to give back. I think that's important to what we do in this community, is to make sure that not only are we providing service to the community, but we are involved in giving back in the community, not just with our time, but also with our resources. And that's just really important.
Wow,
That's awesome.
We agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
That's what the show's all about.
That's why we do that.
Yeah.
I got to ask, though, so you were a mathematical sciences major. How did you end up in real estate from that?
You know, I never thought I'd be a real estate broker. So it's really interesting because I was actually a human resource director. I did a lot of hiring. I worked with Duke Energy in North Carolina, and then I came here and worked with the Weyerhaeuser Company, and then I was a human resource director for a Big Six accounting firm.
Oh, wow.
And then whenever I had my son Chandler, who is now my business partner, I took off some time just to be a mom.
Yeah.
And got bored staying at home. When he went to school, I went to school with him, doing a lot of volunteer activities, but found out that I still wanted something more. And I knew I liked looking at houses. I knew I liked working with people as a result of my human resources background. And real estate just seemed to be a perfect fit.
That's great.
So I got my license, and the rest is history.
And how long ago was that? How long have you been doing it?
That was over 19 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, I just love it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Amazing. So let's talk a little bit about real estate. You're, we would say an expert in real estate with 19 years experience and have a very, great business. And so what advice would you give people who are relocating to the Seattle area? Because that seems to be a lot of people right now.
Yeah, like 1,000 a week or something.
Yes, a lot of people. I think actually it's more than that. But it's the first thing I tell people is to pack on your patience. You can just not say enough about patience, and knowing the market and understanding the market. And I would say that have an idea first and foremost where you want to live. Do you want to live close to work, or do you want to be able to commute away from work? As we all know, traffic is getting to be more and more of a challenge in this area. So I'm finding that people are feeling a lot more comfortable in being closer to where they're going to be working. Does their work location have parking? So they may want to look at, do I need to be close enough to walk to work, to have public transit to get to work? Are there bikes? There are lots of bikes now that you can rent and you can ride those to work. Can I walk to work? So all of those are factors that I think are really important for people who are moving to this area to really take a step back and to think about what is it that is important for me to be happy. Because do you want to live in your car? Because then your quality of life goes down. If your commute to work is more than 15, 20, 30 minutes, are you living in your car an hour to an hour and a half? So then by the time you get home, you're so tired, you probably don't have time for self. If you have children, are you going to be able to be involved with your kids as you're talking about going to the PTA tonight? I mean, you really do want to carve out those things that are really important. What are the critical issues? What kind of quality of life do you want? How Do you want to be able to walk once you get home to restaurants? Do you want to go grab coffee? Do you want to go to the park and just chill and just say, okay, I'm home, but now I can just forget the car. I can walk and do whatever I want. I can go read. I can watch whatever it takes. I think that it's important to look at as a homeowner those critical factors that you can say, I've made the right decision. And the first part is being patient, knowing where you want to live, because that's important, knowing what type of house that you want to have. I think all of those things will drive the real estate expert to kind of help you to identify those factors that will help you to pick the right place and to be happy where you are.
Now, when you're working with someone that's new to the area, I mean, do people, I'm just thinking if it was me, and, you know, this is a pretty big city, and, you know, obviously it depends first and foremost probably where your job is located, like you say, but do people generally kind of live here for a while and rent and get a feel for different areas? Because there's certainly a lot of, you know, different neighborhoods and, you know, I mean,
that's a great question. You know, it depends,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a question that I do get from people who they just don't know where they may want to live. And again, I go back to the patience factor. You have to be patient first and foremost, because there are, as you said, 800 to 1,000 people who are moving here weekly. And so with the shortage of inventory, are there enough rental places? And we're finding that the rental market is
true.
equally as challenging as it is to buy a home. And not only that, it's probably more expensive, if not as much expensive or more expensive to rent as it is to buy a home. The first thing I would say is take a look at the area map, and again, know the neighborhoods. As you know, the greater Seattle and the greater King County area is made up of different neighborhoods. Do you want to live in North Seattle or South Seattle? Do you want to live on the east side, or do you want to live on the west side? What does that do to commute? How within those neighborhoods are the neighbors? What is the crime rate? What does that look like? I always say take a look and make sure you're comfortable with who your neighbors are, what the restaurants, shops, parks, schools, all of those things make up a factor in terms of where you want to live long term. And if indeed those are the factors that are going to make sure that you're going to be happy, safe, and comfortable long term in those communities.
Right.
Something that I've been sort of, you know, coming across lately with these first-time home buyers or out-of-state buyers, you know, that aren't from here. A lot of them are first-time home buyers. You know, they're a double whammy, first time and have never lived here before, is that they're short-term. You know, they're like, well, I know that I want to be within this amount of distance to work, or I want these amenities in my home, and they're actually purchasing on like 5-year arms because they only intend to live there for 2 years. We're kind of getting that a lot because they don't really know where they want to live. They just know they don't want to pay rent. And so they're like, well, I'm just going to live within this distance of work. I'm not overly concerned because I'm only going to be here a couple years.
And maybe they don't have kids yet or anything.
Yeah, a lot of them,
about
a lot don't
schools
have kids yet. Yeah.
So I think that's interesting that you bring it up, because I've had a mixture of some people who feel like they have to have that 30-year fixed mortgage, and you're trying to say, but not always, because you don't know how long you are going to live in a home.
Right.
And when I think about clients who call me back, it's usually within 3 to 5 years that they've either outgrown their property and they're looking somewhere else to either to live somewhere else that's a little bit larger. I had a client that is currently an Amazon client. I sold him a condo 2 years ago, and he had a baby. So now he and his wife just bought a place in Mount Baker that's a little bit larger. So it's typically been about, I'd say, 3 to 5 years, sometimes 7 years, that I find that first-time home buyers are moving up and out. So it's not the 30-year fixed income, mortgage, that they're looking at to be a long-term resident in a property.
Yeah, especially these younger people. I feel like it's sort of generational. You know, it's the millennials. They're short-termers, right?
They are short-termers.
Yeah. So they're just like, I always want the lowest rate. You know, I'm only going to be here a couple of years, and so it's just sort of a different demographic. But if you have, you know, older people that are migrating here with children, then obviously they're more specific on exactly what they want.
They are more specific, because I think with older buyers or more seasoned buyers, whenever they do have children, one of the first things that I hear from them is location, schools, yes, and what is it going to be the fit? How far away from work is the house that I'm going to be buying? Because they want to make sure that they can get to work very quickly, but that they can also be involved with their children's activities.
Yeah.
Which is really important for them.
Yeah, sure is.
Yeah. So what are about, like a few things that you could recommend buyers do to prepare for a successful search for that perfect house neighborhood?
Yeah, that's a great question. Other than patience, call a great lender.
Well, that's good advice. I like that advice.
You want to at least know from a lending standpoint what your buying potential is. You know, how much are you putting down? Once you know how much you can put down, what's your credit score? People older and younger may not always know what their credit score is. And as you know, that is going to be their buying power in terms of a higher interest rate versus a lower interest rate. So once you talk to a lender, then the next thing is to know exactly or have an idea of where you want to live, because that kind of helps drive the process in terms of being successful and getting where you want to be, whether you want to live in suburbia or if you want to be more urban. The other thing is to get a great real estate broker. Call me or interview a couple of real estate brokers, because I think it is really important to work with people, whether it's on the lending side or whether it's on the side of somebody who you are in the car with, day in and day out, trying to help you find that place. There has to be a sense of respect, trustworthiness, and comfort in order to feel as though you're able to accomplish that goal with people who you know are going to support you 110%. When you call, they pick up that phone, they're accessible, and they are aware of what your needs are, and they can also steer you in the direction that you know that they're not going to drop the ball, that they're going to be there with you 100%.
That's really, really, really true.
Mm-hmm.
Having someone that's on your side advocating for you and what you need. So what would you say are some of the biggest challenges this market poses for buyers, besides obviously the prices, right? I mean, that's really hard. I mean, probably getting pre-approved is important because that does sort of determine where you're going to live too, because of the prices of things.
It does. And Sarah, you and I have worked together on several transactions and continue to work as a team on some transactions. And it's really important to have that sense of awareness, know what the client can or can't afford. You need to work with professionals who can make sure that they're giving you good advice, because at the end of the day, it is critical that you have your earnest money tied into this and you're not going to lose that, and that this person who's working with you, when you say you want to close within, whether it's 14 days, like you said earlier, with the person that you're working with, or if it's 30 or 45 days, that actually happens. You also want to make sure that as you're working with these professionals, don't hesitate to pick up the phone to call and ask questions.
Yeah.
I feel as though if you don't have a direct line to the people that you're working with the wrong people.
That's
you need
true.
to make sure that they know what your concerns are. They know how to guide them, what those guiding principles are, that they know whenever the file goes from the lender to underwriting, what that means. Have they had a good inspector to inspect the place and make sure that the investment is still the investment that they think they're getting, that escrow is taking care of the file as they know that it need to be taken care of, and that there's that direct communication from all of those different people to make sure that when this transaction comes together and closes, that you have a successful win and that everybody feel as though they've done their job. Because I always tell clients whenever we close, if you're not happy, I've not done my job. And I want you to tell me early on if I'm not hitting those key points that you need in order to provide you with the service that is going to make sure that you're the priority from beginning to end in this transaction.
I love it.
So after that offer is accepted, then how should the buyer be, how or when or why would the buyer be contacting you? What is your relationship once you get them an accepted offer?
Well, that's when all the fun starts. I mean, people think that the transaction starts from the time that a person gets in the car and you're going and looking at open houses and they're getting listings from me online. And a lot of buyers are just as savvy in some cases as real estate brokers are, because they have these apps now that can alert them whenever houses come on the market. And I'll get these calls. Have you seen this property yet? It's like, well, I haven't gotten up yet, but I'll look at it as soon as I get out of bed.
That's a millennial there.
That's totally a millennial, and I love them for it. But it keeps you on your toes. It makes sure that you're on top of your game, because I tell you what, if you're not, you're going to get dropped very quickly. So from the minute that they're in your car, you're establishing that relationship. You're understanding what their needs are. They understand how you work, because I really think that in this market, it's important to set expectations so that people know exactly what to expect in the process. Because if one thing falls apart, then who's going to be blamed for it? It's not going to be everybody else. It's going to be you. So I take ownership of everything that happens with people that I'm working with, so that they'll know exactly what's going on in the transaction. So once an offer is written, as I said, that's when the fun begins. The client may not hear from the real estate broker as often as they have been as they're looking at properties, because then you're keeping the transaction together. I'm dealing with the lender. I'm dealing with escrow. I'm dealing with the inspector. I'm dealing with title company. There are so many pieces that are going on behind the scenes that the buyer seller may not know, but it is my job as well as the lender's job to keep the client informed, so that as the transaction is moving forward, if there are things that are needed, they're not in the dark about it. If there's a hiccup that happens, they're not in the dark about it, because you have consistently made sure that the client is well informed. Information, and communication cannot be more critical whenever you are working with people from beginning to end, because that way everybody is on the same team. They know the direction that you're going, and they also know how well you are hitting all of those cylinders and making sure that you come to a successful closing.
I think that's really, really true. So we only have just a little bit of time left, a minute or so, but I wanted to ask you, so what do you really enjoy? I mean, what do you really enjoy about real estate and this business? What's your favorite?
Oh, gosh, I don't know if I have a favorite. It's my clients.
Yeah,
I have
people.
the best client. Yeah, as I said, I was an HR director for many, many years, for the first 20 years of my career, and I just love working with people.
Yep.
I love the challenge of being able to find a place for a first-time home buyer. I love the challenge of having a house that's on the market that you meet so many new people that come in. It's like, you know what can I tell you about this property? Because you have to really love what you do in this industry in order to be successful, because there's so many of us. And so it's important to be able to distinguish yourself, to differentiate yourself from that other person that makes this person say, you know what, that's the person I want work for me, because she's going to advocate for me. She's going to work her butt off for me. She's going to make sure that I've gotten everything I need to get what I need to be a homeowner. And that's what I want to do for my clients.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah. You're so welcome.
I can really feel your passion for
I know
the
I
business.
can too, and for your love of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for allowing me to be here.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in to Financial Fitness Northwest. When we come back from the break, we will be chatting with Stacy Ventura, Executive Director of the NOAA Center. And to find out more about topics discussed on today's show, you can find us online at www.financialfitnessnw.com.